Should Europe be scared of its mink farms? These mammals can be infected by SARS-CoV-2. Due to growing concern that they might infect humans, Denmark, the Netherlands and Spain have culled millions of them. In northern Greece, a key actor in Europe's fur industry, things are different. In one of the country's poorest regions, people depend heavily on this industry. This is one of some 80 farms in the area, where around 1.5 million mink are farmed. The breeders allow us into the premises under strict conditions, including negative PCR tests for the entire crew.
We were very surprised that these animals were so sensitive for the COVID virus. People were wearing immediately masks, cleaning the hands. They were not working two together in one shed anymore. So we tried to do as much as we could to keep COVID out of the area. All the workers in Greece in the farms are vaccinated at this moment.
These measures, as well as regular tests on mink, are strongly advised by the European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control to prevent the contamination of the animals in what it calls a high-risk environment. So far, this farm has not been infected. But at least 15% of Greek farms have. That's less than in the Netherlands, but it's broadly in line with big fur producers like Denmark and Sweden. Unlike other countries, sick animals are not culled here. They remain isolated under close veterinary supervision.
If we find positive animals in COVID-19 in a farm, then the farm enters in a quarantine protocol. No, we don't kill them anymore. We support the sick animals in any ways that we could. We know that the sick animal can create immunity, so after a while the virus is not even there. So this is something that needs to be more researched, to be sure.
Keeping people employed and businesses up and running help explain this different approach. The fur industry is one of the biggest sources of employment in this region, second only to the energy sector. In the town of Castoria alone, 60% of the population works in fur. This tannery processes around 1 million pelts a year. Fur crafts are an ancient tradition in the area. The tannery's owner is the current president of the Castorian Fur Association. He claims that without its fur industry, the region would collapse.
The sector employs thousands of workers. There is the breeding sector, and then there is the processing sector, which produces ready-to-wear clothes and ready-to-wear coats. There are over 2,000 companies in the area. Some are small family businesses, some are big companies.
This big retailer, for instance, provides around 500 jobs. Fur coats are designed and manufactured by skilled artisans. 18,000 fur coats are currently destined for the Russian, Ukrainian, Monegasque and Swiss markets. Greece's fur exports are worth around 200 million euros a year.
There is demand in many countries due to the cold conditions. There is a real need for furs. Furs cannot be replaced by any other material or clothing.
The pandemic has forced local authorities to walk a fine line between ensuring public health and protecting the income of many households. Georgios Vavliaris is the region's vice-governor for business development.
Fur here is the main source of income. We could say that it is a monoculture farming situation because all the other sectors also live from fur and grow around it. So for us, it would be very difficult to lose it. It would create serious problems. But at the same time, we encourage locals to do other jobs. We want to convince people to turn to other sectors. The goal is for young people to stay in the area and work. We also want those who left to return home.
Yet this approach doesn't go without criticism. Traditionally opposed to fur farms, environmental groups argue that the COVID-19 pandemic is making animal suffering worse. At a refuge for injured wild species near the city of Thessaloniki, we meet an expert on animal ethics. He is a long-time opponent to fur farming.
Especially during the pandemic, the confinement conditions for these animals are even worse. They simply cannot avoid catching the virus because they're all trapped in small cages with only a few inches of space. With different living conditions, they could have developed immunity through other means, but inside the cages, they unfortunately cannot.
Environmentalists say the economic growth does not justify the industry's status in Greece. Activists argue that fur farming has been prohibited or is being phased out by various EU members, regardless of its economic potential. In some countries, legislative proposals to ban fur farming are currently being considered. Greece is not one of them. Animal activists claim that tourism, agriculture and services could fill the gap of a potential shutdown of the fur industry here.
I think that the European Union can play a decisive role in this ominous situation we're all experiencing by quite simply banning the fur industry in all European countries and all member states. Of course, locals need motivation and encouragement because they will be hit financially. They must be offered alternatives through appropriate programs so that this cruel practice can stop.
Some people, they use everything, every occasion to be against fur. It's not only COVID, it is the cages, it is the way they are treated, and every chance they have to put us in a black daylight, they will use it.
Retailers, farmers and artisans want to preserve their incomes. Authorities are working to protect both public health and employment. Environmentalists are fighting for animal welfare. The pandemic here and in other European countries has exacerbated an already complex debate.